If you're an empath with CPTSD, then the dread of Christmas starts as soon as the Halloween decorations disappear from the shops, or when somebody says, "What are we going to do for Christmas?" And you keep thinking, what is it about Christmas that's so triggering? I'm a grown-ass adult now. Why does it have to be so difficult? And you're right, it doesn't have to be difficult. But there are a few things that you need to understand before you can survive the festive period completely unscathed as an empath. Now, before I get to that, I must say that it's 100% okay not to do Christmas if you don't want to. People will try and guilt you into coming along. If your first instinct is to decline, then this is the ultimate form of self-care. Well done, you. Just make sure that on the day you're mindful that this is the choice that you made and own it. Remember that being alone doesn't have to equate to being lonely. You can make arrangements with other people, or you can spend the whole day spoiling yourself with your favorite movies and your favorite grub. But if you're spending it with family, how can you reduce the chances of getting triggered? Well, this is exactly what I'm going to cover today. But first I want to explain the part that most people don't understand. What's different about Christmas and why is it so much easier to get triggered then? To do that, I need to explain what an emotional flashback is. Put simply, it's a flood of emotions that you felt a long time ago that your body has created a kind of a template for, and it recreates it over and over again. And it made that template because you needed it regularly when you were younger. And this might even be things that happened before you were old enough to store long-term memory or events that you have suppressed. This might not even be big T trauma. This emotional template creates a chemical cocktail in your body that drives you into familiar behaviors that previously kept you safe when you were young. And that's what I call being effed up. But you might know it as fight, flight, fawn, and freeze. These behaviors might cause or sustain a family argument in the tinderbox under the Christmas tree. Now, emotional flashbacks are usually triggered by similar situations, but they are amplified by other factors. People who were there when things happened when you were younger, environment, where you were when it happened, sensory input, like Christmas smells and sounds come back year after year, and there's no other time of year that echoes quite like it. Empaths, in particular, tend to suffer from people-pleasing to prevent arguments because they can feel the tension in the air more than others. It's exhausting and stressful. And no matter how nice we are, we all have a breaking point. So it's completely understandable that anyone with complex trauma would find Christmas difficult. But you're an empath, so I'm going to ask you to switch on your superpower for a moment and look around the table of the people that you'll be spending Christmas with. How many layers of generational trauma are we looking at here? CPTSD is created in childhood, not always on purpose, often by accident, each parent passing on their view of the world. Generally, each generation does a little bit better than the last. Almost every person at the table has their own limiting beliefs, insecurities, hang-ups, and unrealistic expectations about how the day's going to go. It is a tinderbox, and it's why so many people argue at Christmas. Now, if you're still here, still listening to this, then you're on a journey of personal growth. You've had enough of being triggered and effed up, and you need change. But other people at the table are not, and their eyes won't be open. So they're living unconsciously. They react to their environment without thought. Now, I'm not saying this to excuse poor behavior. No. I'm saying it to widen the understanding of what might happen and why. But I also want to say that Christmas Day isn't the best time for these emotions to get the better of you. And if somebody else does, don't join in. Now, before I continue, this channel's quite new, and it's 100% for you if you're an empath who regularly gets triggered or you're still on an awakening path. I've been called to help you. So if you've got questions, please subscribe and pop them in the comments. Of all the people in the world, empaths have the hardest incarnations. They come in with a long list of lessons to learn because they know that it increases their chances of awakening in this lifetime. I'm here to help you with that. I'm here to help you remember who you are. But anyway, back to the material world. So knowing that there's a tricky combination of people, environment, and sensory reminders ahead of you, here's a few tricks to pull out of your Christmas stocking. Don't drink. Not just because it increases the chances of you getting triggered by lowering your inhibitions, but also because if you want to leave, you can. One of the core causes of CPTSD is that when the thing happened, you weren't able to get away. You were young and you were trapped in that situation. And to be honest, spending a whole day in an environment where you previously didn't feel safe can feel like you're trapped. So why not lay off the booze and know that you can drive home anytime you like, and have a plan B if you can't drive. Stay away from high sugar and carbs. This is another reason why Christmas often falls off the rails. Some people just can't handle the sugar buzz, and it makes them act out. The least you can do is make sure that you don't do the same. So if it happens, you are on an even keel. Keep your expectations level. Be realistic about how Christmas is going to go. If the last 5 Christmases have been difficult, then don't tell yourself a fairy tale that this year is going to be different. Watch for the signs of it going downhill and leave the party fashionably early. Know who in the party is likely to play up and avoid them. The host will always appreciate you darting into the kitchen to wash up pots and pans for a break, or maybe the dog needs a walk. Keep reminding yourself that there is a big difference between responding and reacting. When you respond, there's something that I call a sacred pause before the next thing that comes out of your mouth makes a frequency. You don't have to match their frequency. Don't return anger with anger. Nothing makes a narcissist look more foolish than when someone responds calmly to their words. No one will say it at the time, but everyone else in the room will notice your zen. And the final thing, probably the lesson that took me the longest to bed in. When someone says something that you don't like about you, 9 times out of 10, they're talking about themselves. They're telling you more about them than they are about you. So for example, on TikTok, there are some people who comment on my appearance. They can't find anything bad to say about what I'm teaching people over there, so they're stuck with commenting about how I look. And this tells me that I'm fine, and they're more focused on appearance than substance. So they're just not my people. They are, in fact, the opposite of me. So their words don't bother me, but they do help me with my algorithm, and I regularly thank them for that. Now, I do hope you have an amazing Christmas. You deserve all the joy and the happiness. But if things aren't perfect, I hope that the tips that I just gave you minimize the impact and you enjoy your new year.